Hey there, business owners. I'm Anna, and I'm here today to talk about some of the things that will make your life easier while running your business. We are talking about those times when you are sitting at your computer all day and you have been doing 500 things, but you don't even really know what they are. You know where you're trying to get, but you feel as though you're making it up every time. Or you're working with your team and you're telling them what you want as an end result, but they don't quite get to what your actual vision is because you don't have a process in place or steps in place to make sure that it gets there. Believe me, I get it. We've all been there at some point, and this is how we're going to talk about the best way to think about our processes and map them out so everyone knows what they are, as well as other benefits that we're going to cover soon. If we haven't met yet, I'm Anna of Anna's Simple Solutions. I work with ADHD entrepreneurs to streamline their business so they hyper-focus on the things they absolutely love. Because I work better visually and some entrepreneurs work better visually as well, I'm going to talk through what process mapping is, how it's beneficial to you, how it really helps with those that struggle with executive function, no matter what the reason, and then talk about how to get started with process mapping, maybe even for your life, not just your business. It can help in so many ways. So let's get started. So let's talk about why process mapping is important. I'm going to get started here and start making some notes about what are the things that make it helpful. So it takes the remembering off your plate. So one of the things that I personally struggle with as an ADHD entrepreneur is remembering all of the things in my head. I'm a great problem solver. When there's things in front of me, I'm able to figure it out and put the things together. But when there's multiple steps for a project or even just a task, I constantly forget about it. And having a visualization for that is really helpful, not only for me, but future me and even delegating down the line. So having that as the core piece is really helpful. Secondly, it helps manage the overwhelm. If you're anything like me or many of the business owners I work with, you are constantly drinking from the fire hose, as they say. So this helps manage the overwhelm in that you have something you can refer to, kind of related to the fact that it's not on your brain anymore. It's somewhere out there that can be referred to only when you need it. Third, another reason why is that it gives us more dopamine. It'd be great if I could. So one of the things that we sometimes struggle with is that there is a dopamine deficit in our brain, and that is the chemical that makes us want to do more things and succeed. So when you have a process out there and you're able to check off and see which ones are done and able to see the progress, that gives us more dopamine to want to do it more in the future. And anytime you get that is a good thing. So how does it help executive functioning? So I've given some examples of how it helps me, but let's talk through the science of it and how it actually helps the executive functioning of you and your team in your business. So firstly, it really helps with prioritization, which is something ADHD entrepreneurs have a really hard time doing, and also planning. Knowing what the steps are helps you know how long things last. Secondly, it adds visual clarity and novelty. So the novelty part is the fact that you can see it out in a different way and it's not just lists on a page. And you can be really clear about the pieces that go into it and how many people are working on it. Also, it makes delegation a lot easier. If you have it in a visual format, you're going to be able to look at and see who can do which part and even who can do parts at the same time. So you're actually saving time at the end of the day. So those are just some examples of how it helps with executive function. Some of the benefits for your business is going to be you can figure out what's not working. If you look at your process, you can see the pieces in there that aren't working so well, or maybe you're paying for a technology that's not really helping you, or you're spinning your wheels on something that another piece of the process could be. One of my favorite things about doing process mapping with my clients is the ability to see what can be automated. So if you are able to use technology to automate a piece of your business or even drop it out if it's not needed, the process mapping is really going to help you out with that. The third reason why it really helps strategically is that it really enhances the communication in your business. Whether or not you have people on your team that you need to communicate with, speaking in a process, that is the best way to communicate what you are doing to all of the people on your team. Now, this is going to be enhanced by project management tools and technology, but really getting the whole look of it in your head is going to be the best way to really explain it to others at the same time. So I'm going to switch this around here because it looks like I did these in the wrong order. And that's what happens in real life when you cannot remember the things you were going to talk about before. So I'm going to talk through some steps to get started on your process mapping. First of all, you choose a process. Some of the examples of the processes that you could use are just bits and pieces of your entire client journey. One of the things I do with my clients is I always have a 90-minute, what I call a simplify and conquer session. And this session is all about walking through the whole client journey. So I have a really good understanding of how they work, what kind of technology they have, what is important to them and their business, and what parts of their operations and their processes need the most help. And that is exactly what process mapping does for me. So we need to find a piece of the process, and I usually recommend doing it with the sales part of the process because that is what business owners always have to deal with, regardless of what kind of business. There is a part where money exchanges hands and you are helping to feed people in there. So I'm going to write down just a few ideas here. So we have the sales process, we have one of my favorite, the client engagement. And then of course we have team onboarding. There is a whole bunch of ways that we can do this, but really getting started is to narrow down which piece of it that you actually want to start with. First of all, we need to keep it simple. So at a high level, you ask yourself, what are the things that we are going to do in this process? I'm going to do an example of this in this video, and you can see that I'm going to keep it high level and not worry too much about the idiosyncrasies with it and the little tiny steps. And you need to think of that as you go through because you can always add more, but you need to make sure that the main pieces are understood and you can understand how everything integrates together. So first of all, keep it simple. That's probably my first advice on anything that I do. Second is to write out the steps. You can do this graphically, but sometimes it's easier just to write out the steps on a piece of paper or in a Google Doc, just so you have an idea of how this is going to work and you can basically brain dump all the steps. Write out the steps. I'm going to put brain dump. And then the last one here, just as a tip to get started, is make it visual. So this is the part where the actual mapping comes into place. And I have some suggestions for tools that you can use for this. And it's going to be in the description below. I personally use Whimsical for a lot of the work that I do because it's really fast and easy and loads quickly. And I can do it on any device. So this is an example on the screen here of what I do with some of my clients. This is my template. You're welcome to look at it and take pieces of it, but I always have a section on the side for notes. I always have different colored like bars here if I need to indicate what piece of it is we need to keep in mind. And of course, sticky notes and some icons in here. So what I did here was create a workflow example of a weekly content creation process. I have done this at a really high level, and I'm thinking when I do this of the statuses that this process has within whatever project management system it is. So what is the first step? It's the status is that we are brainstorming the content. I'm working with the team to brainstorm the content. I'm outlining key points and categories. And then there's an initial draft that happens. The way that we work is that we create one large kind of blog or YouTube video, and then we just stretch it into different types of social media and blogs and things like that. So we're not overdoing ourselves and creating a lot of extra work, brainstorming a lot of things that aren't applicable or just take too much time. So we have the initial draft, and you'll see this is visual, and what we can do is actually change colors for major pieces of the puzzle. So the main thing that we need to do, that we need to make sure is on time, and what I call milestones, is I make them extremely obvious within my workflow. And again, simple, high level, but make it engaging so you see the important parts in here. So I'm going to go and make these that pink color and then walk through the rest of this here. So we have the initial draft, and then we go to record. What happens after record is a couple of things, actually an after initial draft. So I create, or my team creates, the blog doc and outline from the initial draft, because it contains most of the same information as the recording, but it needs to come off in a different way. So we have done that. We created a blog doc, and then I also record for the YouTube on this platform. Then we do the edit recording, prepare YouTube text, all of those little things that we can't forget, but is really important to be able to do. So all of these are steps that are part of the video creation process. Then we create a blog doc, an outline, like I mentioned. We fill in the blanks from the recording transcription. So I always take the recording transcription, and if there's anything additional that needs to be added, I'll add that in there. I schedule a blog and the website on the same day. And then after it is made, I create an email from the blog, YouTube. So I am actually going to turn this a color because this is a major piece of it. And so is the schedule. And then so is the social media aspect of it. Prep email to go out. So there are a couple of pieces in here. There we go. And if I zoom out here, there's a couple pieces in here that are important to remember at a high level. So when you look at this, you're like, there's all these steps in here. It looks like the recording piece is going to take the longest. And then this whole piece here, perhaps all of this can be done by another person. So that's kind of what I was talking about when it comes to being able to see everything that's going on within a specific process. And then from that point, take that information and really easily fit it into a project management tool, be able to assign it and estimate how much time each piece is going to take so you can plan accordingly and you know how to maintain your schedule. So process mapping really is the branch from all of your great ideas to really running a business in a way that's maintainable, and you can have all the ideas that you have and be able to streamline them into a system where everybody knows, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing and all of that. I actually have a 90-minute Simplify and Conquer session where I work specifically with clients to hash this out, and I would love to share with you. If you check my website, you'll see some of the transformational aspects of people coming into that Simplify and Conquer session and how much more knowledge and how settled they feel afterwards and not so overwhelmed by all the pieces that they feel they are juggling every single month as these processes go on. Again, I'm Anna of Anna Simple Solutions. I would love to see you on my website. If you have any questions, I have a free strategy call, and let me know what processes that really is a struggle in your life below and see if we can help each other out.